seen things you people wouldn't believe. All those moments will be lost in time. Like tears in rain.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, Fitzmagic, has now retired. He announced his retirement today. And I had to do a little podcast to talk about him because I love me some Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, I was torn between opening up with Blade Runner, the end of Blade Runner, or the poem Fare Thee Well by Lord Byron. Alas, they had been friends in their youth, but whispering tongues poison truth. I went with both because both the concepts really were the first thing that I thought of. And I want to say, fare thee well, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I was so appreciative of what you did in Miami. I know some fans maybe weren't. I think you're wrong. I do a little thing on that to really help you maybe see things differently. But for a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick, with the deep passion he had for the game, no one questions that. You might say, oh, he's this or that as a quarterback. But his passion for the game, I mean, giving everything, it had to feel like part of you was dying. And that's what I really wanted to go with the Blade Runner thing, because these guys see things that we can't understand. They see the game from a perspective that we'll never understand. They do things that are really almost superhuman when you look at the rest of us in our normal lives. And to have that kind of end, it's very, very difficult. Even my little time with the game, junior college, high school, all this other stuff, playing afterwards, anything to hold on to that feeling. I still dream about it. But to imagine these people to be on that level, to love the game that much and know that it's over, you will never get that back. It's got to be rough for Ryan Fitzpatrick. And it's for any player and for all of us, especially, us guys, when we finally realize that youth is moved off from us. It's that wake-up moment. So I just want to go over Ryan Fitzpatrick's time with the Miami Dolphins. Maybe some of you will be in agreement, some of you in disagreement. But this guy really was a very, very good pickup. Unless you wanted to tank. If you were tanking for Tua or Burrow or Herbert, then he wasn't the guy for you. But if you just look at it from a football perspective, you look at that 2019 season and what was and could have been in the 2020 season, how he performed, given the framework. I talk about it with two all-time all quarterbacks, context of the situation. This guy really, really was the best quarterback Miami had since Dan Marino. Maybe throw Chad Pennington in there for that one season, but he had so much more around him than Fitzpatrick. Anyway, looking at the 2019 season, again, some people are unhappy. They wanted Burrow. He wanted to go 0 and whatever. I get that. Me, I hate losing. I hate it. It's a terrible, terrible feeling. I've learned as I've grown up to embrace it when I do lose and learn from it and move on. But my very nature is I despise losing. And while I understand acquiring the quarterback and doing all that stuff, my nature isn't like that. I was rooting for the win. I hated the thought of tanking for Tua. I hated Flores when I thought he was tanking. And when he didn't tank and pulled it out, I was happy. I wanted Burrow more than anybody. But seeing us stick it to the Patriots in week 17, that thing, it was worth it. It was totally worth it to me because I believe in a karmic system for football. And it's not some godly thing that comes down and gives you juice. But if you follow the process of football, of trying to win all the time, I believe good things will happen. And if you skirt that, weakness creeps into the system. Weakness creeps into the team, and eventually it's going to come to bite you. Anyway, I appreciate Ryan Fitzpatrick that season, and he was the main reason we had 5 wins. Now, he only had 20 touchdowns and 13 picks, and you would say, it's not so good. But he was 9th in pass completion percentage, 68.3. His bad throw percentage was 17.7, 19th best. So he had the 19th least bad throws. He had 4 fourth quarter comebacks, or come from behind game wins. His throwaway percentage, he only had 7 throwaways the whole season. He was 31st in the league. He was 7th in sacks. He was 40 sacks, 7th most sack quarterback, despite all the other things I just said. Pressure rate, 26.7%. 1 out of every 4 throws, there was pressure. He was 7th in the league. Yards before contact, your offensive line was 1.7. Unbelievably terrible. So there was no support in the run game. And drop percentage was 10th and 11th tied. He was tied for 10th and 11th. So there was so many negative effects wrapped around this guy. New system, rookie offensive coordinator. For him to do what he did was highly, highly impressive. 2020 season comes. You'd figure he would be taken care of. He would get his opportunity. Now, some people thought Tua should have been put in whether he was ready or not. Some people are just huge Tua fans, and they're like, he needs to get his time. He needs to get his experience. I understand that too. But look what it's done for the kid. It's ruined his image. He's learned really not much of anything because he's had 2 coordinators, 2 systems. He's on his 3rd. It wasn't the right move. His own words, he didn't know the playbook. He wasn't really ready physically. The offensive coordinator and staff didn't choose to put him in, and Flores didn't really choose to put him in. It was a move from the top. But this is why I'm using the Lord Byron bit here, because when Fitzpatrick came out and was heart-wrenched in front of the cameras, people tore into him. Oh, he just doesn't want Tua's time. He's just not being professional, all this stuff. I don't think you guys fully appreciate what happened. This is a guy who'd followed a process and had the rug pulled out under him and lost millions in the process. There was money involved. Dolphins, Chris Greer was able to trim their salary cap by taking millions from this guy because he didn't get the reps. Tua didn't even get any extra practice reps leading into it. So this was not even set up for him to win. I mean, it wasn't a good situation. Now, that whole lead up into it, the 2 games where he was put in, people were saying, Gailey's assassinating Tua because of his man Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick's trying to compromise Tua. This wasn't the case. And this is what I say, but whispering tongues poison truth. Tua loved Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick loved Tua. Go look, just see what they said. But the media created Fitzpatrick to be the bad guy. They lambasted poor Tua, saying he's no good when he wasn't ready. And Shane Gailey was the culprit behind it. All this was a situation. But in that process of that madness, Fitzpatrick had a very good season. Again, you look at his numbers, 13-8. Not so good, Curtis. What are you talking about? Bad throw percentage, 28th. Least bad throws in the league. On target percent, 6 in the league, despite all the pressure that he had. 79.9% passes were on target. QBR, 5th best. And QBR is way better than quarterback rating because it takes into account all the situation, pressure and all this other stuff. It was 5th best at 70.9. Pressure, he only had 2.2 seconds before pressure, which was 33rd worst. So, I mean, there was 32 teams. It was 33rd. So That's how much pressure this guy was experiencing. 16th pressure rate, 22.6% passes were under pressure. Which still, and if you go back and look, his tight window throws were number one by a mile. This guy performed with the new system, 3 rookies on the line, and it's not a knock for Tua. Tua struggled too, but he wasn't set up for success. Fitzpatrick, though, did the right thing. He celebrated when Tua came in. It hurt like hell. Probably hurt like hell losing millions of dollars. But he came in relief. He supported Tua throughout. There was never animosity, no matter what some talking heads said about Gailey and Fitzpatrick. And this guy then left. 6 plays, gets injured, career's over. Very tough ending. His time with Miami should be celebrated. He was not a bad guy. He was a good player, a good guy. And if he'd stayed in for the whole season, we could have found ourselves into the playoffs. Again, it's not a knock on Tua. Fitzpatrick and the system Gailey had were perfect because it's about matchups, manipulating at the line of scrimmage, understanding very huge nuances, and be able to alter the playbook based on your opponent. There was no way Tua could have been ready in year 1. It's not a knock on him. Brady sat for a year. Rodgers sat for a couple of years. Young sat for a couple of years. There's nothing wrong with the kid sitting. So this is not a knock on Tua. He wasn't ready. Fitzpatrick, though, was a good player. Not great. It was all about his head and his guts. And it took him time to develop. And if he had been in a much better situation, he could have had more success. Would he won a Super Bowl? I don't think so. But it would have been much better than what it was. And Miami had a very good opportunity. I personally wanted Fitzpatrick to play all of 2020. And if he had played well enough and we went into the playoffs and even won a playoff, I was hoping he'd come back for another year, make Tua earn that position, fight for that position. So when he got it, it was his and he would be able to take it. I believe that. Some fans think he should just had it and give it to him. We did the same thing with Ryan Tannehill. We didn't want to draft Carr. We made the DBs be nice to him. This is not a successful recipe, I don't believe. But alas, it wasn't to be. Maybe it wouldn't have panned out the way I see it. But man, I love that guy. I love to see him escape the pocket and run like a maniac, pick up that first down with nothing around him. I mean, it wasn't Dan Marino, but it was that same kind of feel where one man was kind of carrying the team. Obviously, Marino took it way farther, way more talented, all that other stuff. But it was a beautiful thing for me to see. Doesn't take, again, has nothing to do with Tua. But we did Fitzpatrick wrong on many levels. And I think a lot of fans, they love Tua. Somehow, some of them still see Fitzpatrick and Gailey as the bad guy. They weren't. They had the best interest for Tua in mind. It was nice to see the way Flores and Gailey and Tua and Fitzpatrick, at that time, there was a lot of good vibes, a lot of good feeling. It was headed in the right direction. What could have been, but it's not. So I want to say thank you, Fitzpatrick. I didn't really watch. I didn't really like you too much until you came to my team, and then I really learned to appreciate you, understand you. I was grateful for your time here. I pray that Tua can get some Fitz magic going into the season. I'm sure you're rooting for the kid. Just want to say thanks for giving it all, your all to us. And Fin fans, if you don't really appreciate his time, I ask you to think again maybe on it, maybe take a little look back at it. I think you'll end up appreciating this guy. In the long run, I think he's going to be very appreciated. Good player, good guy. Going to see him in the booth, and that should be great. See the beard back. I'll miss you. This is Curtis saying thanks for staying to the end on this little quick one here. A little emotional pathos, PC. Thanks for staying to the end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Comments mean the most. Subscriptions, likes help us with the Google overlords and keeps us in business, keeps our sponsors happy, keeps me talking football, which I really like. Anyways, Kurt saying thanks. Catch you next time. Go Fins and be well. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with acebread.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.